It is just mind-blowing to me how Christmas is literally at the exact time every single year, and somehow it always sneaks up on me. I'm always scrambling at the last minute to, put up Christmas decorations and order gifts, and God forbid actually have to go to a store and buy gifts. And the struggle's real, but the procrastination, yeah, that's a lot more real. And so today we are going to talk about how to get ready for the Christmas season this year at your church. My name is Luke Clayton, and welcome to Church Media HQ. Welcome back to Church Media HQ. I'm glad that you would take some time to join me on our weekly episodes, and I do hope that you have subscribed and all of that good stuff if you haven't yet. And if you do enjoy this content, then please share it with another church leader like yourself so that we can help them as well. Okay, so here we are, and happy November. In terms of on the time of release, I believe it is scheduled, this episode is scheduled to drop on November 1st. So happy November, and you know what that means. That means that Halloween is over as of yesterday, and that means that the holiday / Christmas season really just kind of goes into full swing in so many, areas of life. Mainly, I think of retailers. In fact, retailers have already started sending out their toy catalogs and whatever to kids. I know my daughter has already collected 2 or 3 different stores little toy catalog magazines that they put out for Christmas. So they were already doing it, but now that Halloween's done with, it's kind of like, because you got to make your money off the costumes and the candy and whatnot. Now retailers are just going all in on Christmas, and you know how it is here in America and in our us Western society, the first world, if you will. Who cares about Thanksgiving? That's just a day for us to stuff our faces and watch football. We don't want to get too hung up on that when we can really, instead of being grateful for what we have, we can really just start to really focus on what we don't have and what we want, and start thinking about Christmas gifts and all that good stuff. So I do think it's unfortunate that Thanksgiving doesn't get a little bit more attention, but again, that is the society that we live in. It is what it is. All that aside, we are, again, Christmas is coming. The floodgates have opened, if you will, in terms of the Christmas spirit and so on. And so here we are, and we are, and first of all, before I get into the content that we're going to discuss, I do want to say that my goal on episodes of Church Media HQ I've really had this goal for well over a year now, is to try to keep the content of every episode fairly evergreen, meaning that it doesn't matter if you are really keeping up with this content and these episodes as they are released, or if you're stumbling on them, weeks, months, even years after they are released, and you're listening, you're watching then. My goal is to make the content to where it's relevant, at least in some capacity. And so with that in mind, I will say what I'm going to talk about today, even though it is going to be specifically kind of applied towards the Christmas season, it really can be applied for any time of year. And so if you're, listening for some reason on a beach in the middle of July on vacation, which, by the way, get my voice out of your ears and go enjoy some time with your family. Don't be listening to me on your vacation. What a waste. But thanks for being here. So if you're listening at a different time of year than Christmas, you really can apply this. I'm really using Christmas more as a example, if you will, for a principle that could be applied to any time of year. So Christmas is, the unique thing about Christmas is that it is truly a season. Of course, there's December 25th, the actual day of Christmas. but really it is a season, and there's a lot of reasons that it is treated like a season. Reason for the season, haha. Yeah, you that I really no pun, not a pun, but no little Jesus friendly rhyme intended there. But there are many reasons that Christmas has turned into more of this seasonal approach. And again, going back to retailers, that's one of the biggest things. Obviously, basically every single retailer out there, whether they're Walmart or Target or Amazon or even some smaller type of mom and pop store or whatever, they are going to make the majority of their revenue is going to come in the final quarter of the year. The reason that Black Friday got its name is because historically there are many, many retailers that do not see profit until they reach that time of year. So it's really hard to imagine that, because Black Friday is like the last, typically it's the last Friday, I suppose, of November. That is going to be literally just practically the beginning of the final month of the year is when a lot of these retailers become truly profitable. And that is insane, but that just shows you how much of an effect the Christmas season has on consumer habits, and not just their buying habits. Christmas is a time when, yes, it really has become all about the gifts, and this is not even though we're talking about church media here, we're not we're not going to get into all the spiritual applications of, again, Jesus the reason for the season, because obviously we know that. I'm just talking about it purely from a kind of a marketing standpoint here. In addition to it being all about gifts, it's other kind of industries get excited about it. For example, the travel industry, airlines, hotels, rental car companies, maybe. They are going to see a nice spike in revenue as well, because not only are you buying gifts for your loved ones, but you are traveling to see your loved ones throughout this season. And so, so you've got the gifts, you've got the travel that's involved, and like I said, the extra activity there. But I am going to say, since we're talking about industries that benefit from the Christmas season, it's pretty obvious that the church is one of those industries. We are the church world, if you will, and local churches, they benefit from the Christmas season. Now, this has been the case, with the exception of maybe Christmas of last year of 2020, where the past or the pandemic and all of that really said it. Unfortunately, it seemed like there was this convenient new wave of COVID come through right around the Christmas season, and I know many churches that had to cancel their plans and had to go back into lockdown and things like that, and it's really unfortunate. But fortunately, this is not universally true. It's definitely not true all across the globe or even all across the United States. But fortunately, we are returning and have returned to some sense of normalcy in many parts of. Again, I do know that I have to keep giving this disclaimer. I do know that I am talking to you. I'm coming to you here live. Well, not live, but you know what I mean. I'm coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee. And if you know anything about the Nashville and the South, and Tennessee is kind of in the top three of states that everybody's moving here right now. Everybody's moving to Tennessee, Texas, and Florida because we don't have any COVID restrictions. I mean, it's been wide open for us for a while. So I understand that I'm coming to you from a place where, yes, church is pretty much back in full swing in nearly every capacity, and churches in this area, they are just going kind of full steam ahead and whatnot. So I understand that I am not talking to, depending on where you're watching, listening from, I understand that could be different for you. But again, this is a principle, these are principles that we're going to be talking about that can be applied to any time of year. And I would actually have arguments of why, what we're going to discuss, and as we get into it, of why it is actually could be exceptionally a good approach for COVID. But this approach, this concept, it really can be applied to any time of year. So if you're like, my church isn't ready to do anything major for Christmas yet, okay, that's your choice, and you have to make that decision yourself. But nonetheless, again, the concept here is the same. So all that to say, the church is one of these industries that benefits from the Christmas season in a great way. And fortunately, if we're talking about, anyways, the effect of Christmas on our society and on our culture, fortunately, this is one of those things that, though it would seem that certain agendas and ideologies are trying to, quote unquote, push Christ out of Christmas. Fortunately, again, very dependent on where you live specifically, but that is by and large, I in my opinion and in my observation, hasn't particularly succeeded. Many people are still, no matter how religious or no matter how devout they are in their faith or lack thereof, they still acknowledge Christ in one way or another, whether it's just doing something minor like setting up a nativity scene as a piece of their decor, or maybe it's reading some passage, Luke 2 or some passage of scripture, or for many of them, it is by going to some type of Christmas worship service or event during the Christmas season. Yeah, again, it's just like Easter, whereas Easter is not by the way, somebody is out here, just backing up their truck. So if you're hearing that beep sound, that's what that is. And if you didn't hear that, then you're like, Luke, you're just hearing things. But anyways, I got a little bit, get back on track here. What was I saying? About, this idea that Christmas, people are still acknowledging it. And it's kind of like Easter. I was comparing it to Easter. Of course, Christmas and Easter, known as the two biggest times of year for churches in theory. And, so because many people, I should say, are doing the obligatory checking Christ off the list at Christmas. And again, when we talk about it from maybe a spiritual, philosophical perspective, is that well, of course not. No, we're not talking about that. But we're looking at things from a marketing, outreach, and creative angle here. So the church is going to benefit from this season. But how can you make the most of it? And any time of year, how can you make the most of maybe times of year when people might be a little bit more perceptive to come to church? Again, Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, even at the beginning of like a school year in the fall season, people, kind of fresh starts. Many people have maybe relocated during that time of year, but, they try to relocate during the summer for a new job before school starts with their kids and so on and so forth. So anyways, this concept can be applied really year round. So let's get into it. Let's talk about if you will, the old way, and then we're going to talk about the new way. The old way was, and still is for some, this. It's the one big day mentality. Now, full disclosure, you rewind our episodes and you go back to particularly the first year of when we launched this podcast. You can go back, you can listen to these episodes. You'll hear that I was a little bit more pushing and maybe encouraging the one big day mentality. In fact, I'm remembering distinct conversations I had with with different guests on our episodes where we talked about how this could be beneficial. And I kind of grew up in a tradition of church, and it's not exclusive to any particular tradition or any particular denomination, I should say, or whatever. It's really more of just a general approach and mentality that really kind of took over for a generation or so of church leadership, of having these big days throughout the year on your church calendar, where you would have, something just be more or less just big events that were had extra attractional activities or things going on at the church that would bring people and attract people and get them interested to come. Now, I'm just going to say, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's all wrong. But there's certainly wonderful application of that. Again, coming through the Halloween season, where a lot of churches, provide their Halloween alternatives, their fall festivals, trunk or treat activities. Look, my daughter, she went to like it was like 4 different, fall festivals and things like that. Got to wear different costumes and get a bunch of candy. And it was awesome. I mean, I saw at multiple churches just thousands of people in the community that had the opportunity to come and be loved on by the church, and I think that is awesome. So I am not belittling this concept of let's do some type of community centric event. However, what I do want to point out is that while that can have a lot of value in and of itself, what we have to be careful of is we have to ask ourselves, what do we want our church to be known for in the community? And it's not an either or. It could be a both and situation. You could be known for having cool community events, but you also, regardless of if it comes along with that or not, you also want to be known for probably greater reasons. If you really asked yourself as a pastor or a church leader, what do I want my church to be known for? When somebody says, so and so church, do you want those people to think, oh yeah, they have all that candy at whatever, or man, yeah, they got the bounce houses that throughout the thing. They got the dunking booths or whatever it may be. These different things that different elements of attractions we might bring into our church to get people interested. Well, would you rather them say, oh yeah, that's the church that does the really cool fill in the blank, or yeah, that's the church where I found community. I was feeling super alone and I just found friendship. I found people to connect with and to have a community with. Or no, that is the church that, I found truth there. I was just really looking for answers, and I went there and I heard, the teaching and the preaching, and it helped me find truth. It helped me find the truth of Jesus Christ and some answers to my questions. Or yeah, that is the place that helped me heal. I felt broken. I felt down and out. And this church, man, this church was a hospital, a spiritual hospital for me. Now, of course, as a pastor, as a church leader, you're saying, well, yeah, of course that's what you want your church to be known for. And I don't think there's a pastor or assistant pastor or whatever in their right mind that wouldn't say, oh yeah, that's what we want. And again, while there's nothing wrong with having an attractional level event or attractional driven event, what you have to say is, well, do I want to do that so much, so often, and put so much emphasis on that the other stuff is forgotten? Because that's what I have seen from time to time, is saying we're going to put so much promotional and outreach effort into these big events. Why? Well, because if we're going to put all of this expense, and if we're going to make such a big deal for, again, just using the festival example, because I think this is something that many churches are doing, or trunk or treat or whatever. If we're going to put so much effort into organizing something like this, and like I said, expense and cost into it, then of course we want people to be there. We don't want it to flop. And so what happens is we get so focused on these big events that virtually, all of our attention and energy goes into these big days throughout our year, and it's almost like we're spinning our wheels and we're spending our days throughout the year just getting ready for the next big thing. And then what happens? Well, then now what happens with our churches is now they become the ones that do this. They become attractional and event-centric organizations. They're all about, again, the next big thing. And just so you know, because I love to do this from time to time, just so you don't think, I should say, that I'm picking on churches exclusively. This is a mistake that I made early on, just in business. Again, I am in the business of helping churches with their creative media and marketing needs. And so I would go, I would really, because Christmas and Easter are big times a year for the churches. So I really built a lot of my early service and product offerings around seasonal based content. And it was like I would make everything all about this particular, graphics or videos or whatever that I made just for Christmas, for example. And while we're still doing some of that, and again, there's nothing wrong with it. But what happened for me was it was all about Christmas, and then after Christmas, it's like, oh man, I killed myself getting ready for Christmas. And then it was all about Easter, and getting ready for Easter. And fortunately, there's Christmas and Easter, and they're kind of spaced out, about 4 months apart from each other. But then it's like, well, wait, there are 8 more months throughout the year that I've got to live through, and that I've got to make an income, and I've got to pull in revenue. And it became a nearly detrimental problem in just my business revenue and operations. And so, we had to start making a shift. We had to shift in what we offered and saying, well, yes, we're still going to. And by the way, this is a great time to talk about our Christmas media kit available from Church Media HQ. See, we still are going to offer something particular for Christmas. And with this kit, you do get videos, graphics, print resources, done for you social media, all available for a one-time cost. This is one of the few times of the year that we offer a one-time, one-off cost product. There's no subscription required to access this. If you're interested in that, just head over to churchmediahq.com/Christmas. That's churchmediahq.com/Christmas. But with that said, with us still making offerings like that with Christmas or with Easter or with whatever, our business model has focused more, like I was just saying in my little advertisement there, towards more subscription and recurring type of revenue products and services. Because there's a lot of reasons from a business angle of why this is better in terms of obviously having recurring revenue is better than one-time revenue. But it's also, for me, it gives me the opportunity to work with churches like you so that we can continue to help you, not just during Christmas. Because when I made my business all about Christmas and Easter and just the big events of the year, if you will, well, what happened is your church might be interested in us helping you then, but if that's really all I seem to push, it's like, well, that's the guy I'll call up when I need help for Christmas. Or that's the guy I need help at Easter when I need it. But the truth is that I don't want to be pushing this mentality anymore. I don't want to be pushing this, only care about the one big day. And it should be the same thought process in your church. You can still do these things for your, during these big day events, these attractional things to bring your community in. However, that should not be your only concern, and you shouldn't be so focused on it that it's all you do and therefore all you are known for. And so that can be the biggest issue with this one big day mentality. And so what is the alternative? Well, it's not anything that I've necessarily not discussed before. In fact, it's something that I really started pushing and trying to teach this time last year. But again, with it being a very exceptional Christmas season last year, I don't know how well it caught on. And so I want to mention it again and maybe be a little bit more clear in the way that I explain it. And so that is, instead of, in this case, as you head into the Christmas season, but again, no matter what time of year, you could apply this mentality. So as you head into this particular season, instead of saying, okay, what is my big day for Christmas? Well, what if we said, what is my big day, or I'm sorry, not big day, what is my church's special campaign or season where we're really going to dive in and take advantage of this Christmas season, not just to get people in church for one Sunday of the season, but multiple Sundays of the season. So I'm actually going to look right here, since I'm using an example, using this Christmas of 2021 as a specific example, I'm going to pull up the December 2021 calendar. And as we look at this, there are actually 3 Sundays in December, starting on the 5th, then the 12th, then the 19th. there are 3 Sundays in December prior to Christmas Day. I can understand why you wouldn't want to do something too close to Christmas Day itself. Doing something, maybe the day, obviously the day after Christmas is over, and the day on Christmas, yeah, okay, there can be some, that's a whole other thing, and that does happen every few years. But in this case, we actually have quite a bit of time in between even this last Sunday I mentioned and Christmas. There's still a full 6 days there. So instead of saying, well, let's pick one of those days, the 5th, the 12th, and 19th, to make our big Christmas Sunday or Christmas weekend, let's have a big Christmas campaign that lasts for all 3 of the Sundays. Depending on the year, depending on the calendar falls, you could have the opportunity to have 3 or 4 Sundays or weekends any given year where you can have a Christmas campaign. Now, if you're feeling, again, even this year, if you're feeling extra in the spirit of Christmas and so led by the spirit of Christmas, if you will, you could technically start on November 28th because that is the first Sunday after Thanksgiving. So it's officially acceptable to begin celebrating Christmas around then. But for sake of illustration, I'm going to say, hey, let's say you say, no, I'm going to be strict, even stricter, and I'm going to say only during December. Well, it's still, you've got the 3 Sundays. So instead of saying, I'm going to make it all about this one big day, and I maybe make it about these 3 Sundays. And what can you do? Well, of course, it's very likely that you're already going to be singing many worship songs that are Christmas themed. We're breaking out Away in a Manger and Joy to the World and so on and so forth. And, we're singing these traditional Christmas hymns and maybe some newer, Christmas songs and whatnot. We're singing. Again, I'm not going to give examples because I'm at time of recording, I'm not listening to Christmas music yet. And that is a rule that I abide by. I do not listen to Christmas music until Thanksgiving has passed. That is how I will honor Thanksgiving, at least in that way. Can we not hold on to that little bit of Thanksgiving dignity? Nonetheless, by this time, you'll be singing those Christmas songs as part of your worship at church. And so you're going to be doing that. And then perhaps one of the greatest things that can be done here, and many of you pastors are probably already going to be doing something of this nature, is having a Christmas-themed sermon series where you're going through, maybe a different telling of the biblical account of Christmas, or breaking down a passage, however you decide to do it. I've seen it done in many creative ways, and yes, I understand you have to get very, very creative as you because Christmas comes every year, and every year it's Jesus in a manger, baby born of a virgin. I mean, that doesn't change. So I understand that every year it can be challenging to present it in a way that is new and engaging. And speaking of that, that is another reason why you need to check out our Church Media HQ Christmas kit. Now, yes, I already technically did the plug for it during this episode, but it doesn't hurt to give you a little bit more details of what is involved. And one of the key kind of leading flagship features of the kit this year is, of course, our Christmas videos. Over the years, we've been able to produce ourselves as a team here and also work with other creators to offer 5 unique stories told through these videos. It's over 80 minutes of actual video footage, and we've seen a lot of applications of this, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I think you should use it, what I believe is the best way to use them, but we've seen people play them, have dedicated, movie or kind of film showing presentation events during the Christmas season where they'll just show one of these stories all in one sitting. I've also seen some take the footage and kind of craft their own stories, and that's kind of cool to see. No matter how you choose to use it, you need to get your Christmas media kit so that you can get this video content. And again, that's available at churchmediahq.com/Christmas. But speaking of that, and speaking of using these videos, and I did say there is my preferred way, or what I believe to be the best way to use it, is to use these videos to accompany a series throughout the season. So, for example, these 3 Sundays, the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, starting a series on the 5th, showing the first part of one of these stories on the 5th, and then continuing and showing the next part on the 12th and the final part on the 19th. Because what you're going to do is you're going to, in addition to your sermon series, you're going to also be giving your audience a little piece of the story and or little episodes of a continuing story each week. And this is why television works so well. When you show a new episode, people, and you leave them hanging, or whatever, people want to come back and watch the next episode and see how the story continues. And that's the wonderful thing about these films. All of them are made in a way to where you can break them up, and we actually have different video files, separate files, so that you can show them. You can show them all at once, or better yet, as part of a series. So that's a wonderful way to keep people coming back every week. Now, there's a lot of different, applications, I suppose, in particular, that you could take and use, and approaches and methods for these days in particular. That's really up to you. But the idea is that instead of making it all about one day, make it about a series of worship services at your church this Christmas season. There's so much benefit to this because, first of all, when you just have that one day and you go out and you meet somebody and you say, hey, you know what? I would love for you to stop by our church on December 19th to join us for our special Christmas service this year. What happens when they say, oh, you know what? I'm actually not going to be in town, or you know what? I work in retail and my work schedule's crazy and I have to work that day. Or fill in the blank of whatever reason they can't go, or maybe they're just trying to come up with an excuse because they don't really feel like going to church. Well, what if instead you said, "Hey, we've actually got three," and like I said, in this case, this year we've got 3 different Christmas-centric services that you can come to, and where you can worship and celebrate Christmas with your family this Christmas season. Well, now you've got 3 unique opportunities, and they can, in theory, pick the one that works best for them, or who knows? They might say, hey, I might just stop by all of them. Or they might come to one of them and like what they hear and come to the next one. They might come to that one on the 5th. They might hear you have an awesome worship experience, hear your very fantastic sermon, see the first piece of the video, and then say, well, what happens next? I got to have more of this. And now they come back on the 12th. And absolute best case scenario, they come back on the 19th. And now, instead of coming to just one service of your year, of your season rather, they've come to multiple. And we all know, statistically proven, that the person who visits a church for the second time and beyond is much, much more likely to become a regular than somebody who just visits for the first time. And so I want to challenge you this year. I'm always saying, let's try something new. And what I hope is that you hear an idea or something that we say here on these episodes and you go, oh yeah, I'll give that a shot. I'll give that a try. Well, here's something really, really specific that you can try. You say, well, I'm not sure. I understand hesitations. I totally get it. So I am going to throw this out there. For anybody who's having reservations for whatever reason, first of all, maybe you're having reservations of why you want to present this, or why you would want to take this series approach, this campaign as opposed to one big day. You say, I don't know, how would that work? Maybe you have hesitations there. Maybe you are considering using some type of video approach like I've been talking about with the series, or you want to kind of go out on a limb, if you will, and try something new in the area of your media at your church. Well, so I want to let you know that and encourage you, please take the time to schedule a call with me, and I would love to talk you through all of your potential hesitations, concerns, and see if we can help your church, I should say, have this awesome experience of a Christmas season at your church rather than maybe just one Christmas service. So again, please take a moment to schedule a call with me. You could schedule a coaching session completely free at churchmediahq.com/coach, or see the link in the descriptions. And that's if you want some guidance and some maybe more insight on this concept, about just using having a season of Christmas celebration at church rather than one service, or if you say, I have considered using the videos and or doing something like that, whether it's our videos or somebody else's, it doesn't matter. It's more about, I want to see you follow through on an idea. I really, really hate personally having a wonderful idea and just never seeing it come to pass, or seeing it half-baked and not be near as effective as what it could have been. That is one of the biggest ways to prevent that from happening is by just talking it over with someone, and that's what I want to do for you. So again, head over to churchmediahq.com/coach or see the link in the description. Let's schedule a time to talk it through. And I want to help you have an amazing Christmas season at your church. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out and let's try this. Let's try this at church. And if you're saying, hey, I want to give this a try, I would love to know that you are actually going to move forward with this concept. Please reach out to me and let me know. Or if you have hesitations, let's talk. I love talking to church leaders, having these conversations. I really do. So I really look forward to speaking with you. No matter what you decide, I hope that your church does have an awesome Christmas season. Yes, we're only at time of release of this episode in November, but it will be here before you know it. So please, I wish you the best. Please understand that I am here to help you. I love helping through these episodes, but I'd love to help you even in a one-on-one setting through our free coaching. Well, Church Media HQ is a production of the Must Increase Network. And head over to mustincrease.com to learn more about what we do for churches, families, and so forth. While you're there, check out our latest addition to the Must Increase Network. It's the other podcast that I host. It's called Connection Culture. And on that podcast and YouTube show, we explore helping you and your family navigate through the toxic messaging, the negative content that is out there in the world of media and tech. And we help you actually use that same power of media and connection to make authentic connections and, of course, increase truth and inspire hope in the lives of others. And that is what we are all about here at Must Increase. And at Church Media HQ, that's how we want to help your church. Ultimately, we want your church to be increasing the truth of Jesus Christ and the hope that he offers, inspiring that in the lives of others. And until next time, I want to issue that challenge yet just once more. It's time for your church this Christmas season and beyond to try something new, because it's so much better to fail at trying something that could be incredible than it is to succeed at doing just the average. I'll see you next time right here on Church Media HQ.